The wedding had been picture perfect. The flowers were fresh, the cake was divine, and the bride, oh the bride, was glowing like a woman who had just hit the jackpot. And in many ways, she had. Meredith, the younger and oh-so-innocent sister, had just married Brad, a man whose entire personality revolved around expensive suits and investments. Their vows were beautiful, their first dance was magical, and the champagne was flowing like it was water at a desert oasis. Harper, the older sister, had played her role flawlessly. She had smiled in all the right places, given her speech, toasted the happy couple. She had been the perfect supportive sister. If she had known what was coming, she might have skipped the wedding entirely and booked herself a nice vacation far, far away. The real drama didn't start until the next morning. Meredith, still basking in her newlywed glow, had woken up bright and early with one mission in mind: checking on the honeymoon fund. You see, Meredith and Brad weren't just heading off to some basic beach resort with complimentary mimosas. No, they had planned a luxury 3-month honeymoon, complete with 5-star accommodations, private yachts, and Instagram-worthy spa treatments. It was the kind of trip people went into serious credit card debt to afford, except they didn't need to, because their generous wedding guests had gifted them a whopping $200,000 in cash and checks. Meredith had stashed the money in Brad's hotel room safe. So that morning, while Brad was in the shower, Meredith had skipped over to the safe with all the confidence of a woman whose life was falling perfectly into place. She punched in the code, her birthday obviously, ready to bask in the sight of neatly stacked envelopes and crisp bills. Only, the safe was empty. Meredith stared at the vacant space, her brain short-circuiting. This was supposed to be the moment where she admired her wealth before stuffing it into some designer travel bag. But instead, she was looking at absolutely nothing. Her heart rate spiked. Maybe Brad moved it? No, that made no sense. He was obsessed with financial security. He wouldn't have touched it without telling her. Maybe the hotel staff stole it? Unlikely. The room hadn't been broken into, and the safe showed no signs of forced entry. And then, like a bolt of lightning, it hit her. The night before, Meredith distinctly remembered seeing Harper walking past the suite when she and Brad were heading to bed. Meredith hadn't thought much of it at the time. Her sister had probably just been going to her own room. But now it all clicked. Harper must have seen the safe, waited for the perfect opportunity, and then, when no one was looking, stolen every last cent. Meredith's stomach twisted. How could she? How dare she? This was her honeymoon money, her perfect life. Harper had always been jealous, always, and now she had taken it too far. By the time Brad stepped out of the shower, Meredith was seething. "It's gone," she hissed, her voice trembling. "The money, it's gone." Brad frowned, still drying his hair. "What do you mean gone?" "I mean the safe is empty. Someone stole our money." Brad's eyes widened, and for a brief, shining moment, he looked like a man who was about to cancel his gym membership because life had just knocked the air out of him. Meredith grabbed his arm, her nails digging into his skin. It was Harper. It had to be her. Brad, ever the logical one, hesitated. Wait, why would Harper? She was right outside our suite last night. She was the only one near the safe. Who else would have done it? Brad opened his mouth, then closed it. Meredith could see the wheels turning in his head. He wanted to be the rational one here, but the evidence, thin as it was, had already been planted. And so, by the time they arrived at the family's post-wedding brunch, Meredith had a mission. She wasn't just going to accuse Harper. She was going to make sure everyone in the family knew what a thief she really was. Harper had expected many things from the family post-wedding brunch. Overcooked eggs, passive-aggressive compliments from her mother, maybe even a retelling of how Aunt Joan fell into the fountain, because that was already legendary. What she didn't expect was to walk into a full-scale courtroom drama with herself as the accused. The moment she stepped inside, all conversations stopped. Heads turned, eyes narrowed. Even the waiter setting down a tray of overpriced avocado toast froze, as if sensing the thick tension in the air. Harper. Her name was spoken with the weight of 1,000 disappointments. It was Meredith. Standing at the center of the room like a prosecutor about to deliver her opening argument, one hand dramatically clutching Brad's, the other gesturing to the assembled family members like she was about to drop the case of the century. "You stole our honeymoon money." Harper blinked. "I'm sorry. What?" Meredith's voice trembled with carefully rehearsed emotion. "You were the only person near our room last night. You knew where the safe was, and now—" She let out a shaky breath. $200,000 is gone. A collective gasp rippled through the family. Harper's mother pressed a hand to her chest as if she was about to faint. Uncle Rick, who had spent most of the wedding in a deep state of intoxication, looked around, clearly confused about whether this was actually happening or just another champagne-fueled hallucination. Harper glanced between them all, waiting for someone, anyone, to point out how completely ridiculous this was. Silence. "Oh, for God's sake." She folded her arms. "You think I stole your money because I walked past your room last night? Wow. Fantastic detective work, Sherlock. Ever considered a career in law enforcement?" But Meredith was ready for this. "You were the only one who had a reason," she shot back, eyes glistening with righteous fury. "You've always been jealous of me. You hated that I got married first, and now you've ruined my honeymoon because you can't stand seeing me happy." Harper let out a slow, dramatic sigh, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Right, that makes perfect sense. I totally snuck into your room, hacked into your very secure hotel safe, stole a ridiculous amount of cash, and then, what? Walked out casually with 200 grand stuffed into my clutch? Seriously, Meredith, that's your theory?" Brad cleared his throat, stepping forward like he was about to play the reasonable husband. "Tim. The security system didn't detect any break-ins," he pointed out. "That means it had to be someone with access to the room." Harper turned to him, deadpan. "Ah, yes. Because I definitely have a master key to every room in the hotel. I forgot to mention, I moonlight as a cat burglar when I'm not busy being blamed for things I didn't do." Her mother shook her head, disappointment practically radiating off her. "Harper, we raised you better than this." Harper gasped. "Oh my God, you actually believe this?" She looked around. "Dad? Seriously? You too?" Her father sighed heavily. "I just don't understand why you do something like this, Harper." Harper threw up her hands. "Because I didn't." Aunt Joan, still damp from last night's fountain incident, suddenly chimed in. "Sweetheart, if you needed money you could have asked," she said kindly, as if Harper had just been caught shoplifting a candy bar instead of being accused of grand larceny. Harper groaned. "I don't need money. I have a job. A good one. You all know this." Meredith, sensing her grip on the courtroom drama slipping, went in for the kill. "Then prove it," she said, voice low and dangerous. "If you really didn't take it, then tell us. Where is the money?" Harper stared at her, waiting for someone to point out how insanely dumb that question was. Nobody did. Of course they didn't. Because when it came to Meredith, this family had the critical thinking skills of a potato. Harper exhaled sharply, leveling her sister with a look. "You know what, Meredith? If you want to pin this on me so badly, go ahead. But before you do, maybe ask yourself this. Who actually knew the safe code?" Meredith stiffened. Just for a fraction of a second. And Harper saw it. A smirk curled at the edge of her lips. Oh, this wasn't about money. This was about something so much bigger. And Harper was about to find out exactly what her little sister was trying to pull. Harper had seen this movie before. The one where the innocent little sister cried wolf. The golden child played the victim. And the family lined up like puppets to cheer her on. She'd spent her entire life as the background character in The Meredith Show. But not this time. This time she was going to burn the whole damn set down. Harper leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, smirking just enough to let Meredith know she wasn't buying the act. "So tell me, little sis," she drawled, tilting her head. "How many people actually knew the safe code?" Meredith flinched. It was subtle. Blink and you'd miss it subtle. But Harper didn't miss it. Brad, the human embodiment of a Wall Street spreadsheet, jumped in like the loyal husband he was trying to be. "Just us," he said firmly. Meredith, myself, and—" He hesitated. "Well, the hotel staff technically, but the manager swore no one accessed the safe after we locked it last night." Harper snorted. "Oh, wow. What a shocker. You mean the professionals didn't randomly decide to rob their own guests? Truly groundbreaking detective work, Brad." Meredith glared. "Stop being sarcastic, Harper. You were the only other person near that hallway last night. That's not a coincidence." Harper raised a brow. "Neither is the fact that your dumbass used your birthday as the code. Seriously, Meredith, if someone did steal from you, I'd start by interrogating literally anyone who has ever met you for 5 minutes." Her mother gasped. "Harper, that's uncalled for." "So is accusing me of grand larceny over a hunch," Harper shot back. Aunt Joan, who had at some point switched from clutching pearls to clutching a Bloody Mary, sighed dramatically. "We just need to think, people. Maybe the money wasn't stolen. Maybe it was misplaced." Harper turned to her, blinking. "Yes, Aunt Joan. Maybe 200 grand just grew legs and walked away for a little adventure. I'm sure it'll come back after a refreshing vacation in the Bahamas." Aunt Joan took a long sip and muttered, "No need for sarcasm, dear." Harper dragged a hand down her face. This was exhausting. "Okay, fine. Let's break this down. I had no reason to steal from you. I have my own money. Also, fun fact, if I were going to commit a felony, I wouldn't be dumb enough to do it in a hotel with security cameras." Her father, rubbing his temples like this whole thing was physically hurting him, sighed. "You do make a good point, Harper, but—" "Oh my God, but what?" Harper groaned. "There is zero evidence against me. The only proof you have is that I walked near the room last night, which, newsflash, I had to do to get to my own damn suite." But Meredith wasn't letting go. Not now. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Then who else could have done it? And that was when Harper saw it. The flicker of something behind Meredith's eyes. Oh, this was interesting. Harper smirked. "Great question." She rested her chin on her hand. "Because if it wasn't me, that means someone else in this family is either a liar or a thief." And just like that, the air changed. For the first time since this circus started, Harper wasn't the only one under scrutiny. Aunt Joan shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Uncle Rick coughed. Even Brad looked like he suddenly regretted being involved in this family at all. Harper let the silence stretch. Let them feel the weight of what was happening. Then she smiled. "So, Meredith," she said, tilting her head, "where do you really think that money went?" Because Harper was willing to bet her life savings that Meredith knew exactly what had happened, and if she wanted to keep playing games, Harper was going to make sure she lost. Silence hung over the room like a bad reality TV cliffhanger. Harper had spent years watching Meredith effortlessly manipulate their family, spinning every situation to make herself the victim. But now, for the first time, Meredith looked cornered. Her perfect deer-in-headlights expression was slipping. "Well?" Harper prompted, leaning back in her chair with a smug grin. "You accused me of stealing your precious honeymoon fund. But if it wasn't me, that means someone else took it. So who's your next suspect?" Meredith opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Brad like she was mentally downloading an excuse. Brad, bless his clueless soul, just frowned in confusion. "I mean, Meredith, we don't know for sure it was Harper." Meredith whipped around so fast it was a miracle she didn't give herself whiplash. "Are you seriously taking her side?" Brad hesitated, and for a second, just a second, Harper saw it. Doubt. Oh, that was juicy. Meredith, realizing she was losing control of the narrative, switched tactics. "Look, I'm just saying the facts make sense. She was near the room. She knew about the safe. And you didn't?" Harper interrupted, her voice all mock innocence. "You were literally in the room, Meredith. Should I be accusing you?" Her mother gasped, as if Harper had just suggested murder. "How dare you accuse your own sister?" Harper stared at her. "Are you serious right now? That's literally what she just did to me." Aunt Joan took another deep sip of her Bloody Mary. "She does have a point, Meredith. Meredith shot her a look so venomous it could kill a small rodent. Then suddenly she switched to plan C. Fake tears. "I can't believe this," she whispered, voice shaking. "All I wanted was to have a beautiful wedding, a perfect honeymoon, and now my own family is turning against me." Cue the single dramatic tear. Harper rolled her eyes so hard she nearly pulled a muscle. "Oh my God, Meredith, this isn't a Hallmark movie. Cut the act." Her mother gasped again. Honestly, this woman should have been born in the Victorian era with the way she clutched her chest every 5 seconds. "Harper, stop attacking your sister when she's clearly in distress." Harper let out a slow, exaggerated breath. "Okay, fine. You want me to prove my innocence?" She turned to Brad. "What do the security cameras say?" Brad blinked. "What?" "The hotel cameras?" Harper repeated, crossing her arms. "You know, the ones in the hallways. If I'm the so-called criminal mastermind here, I must have been caught on camera sneaking into your room, right?" And boom, just like that. Checkmate. The room went dead silent. Meredith paled. Brad straightened. "That's actually a great idea. We should check." Meredith's head snapped toward him. "Wait, no, we don't have to." But it was too late. Harper grinned. "What's wrong, sis? Suddenly not so eager to find the truth?" Because now she knew. Meredith was hiding something, and Harper was going to find out exactly what it was. Meredith was sweating, not the cute, glowy kind of sweat that models pretend is dewy skin. No, this was the full-body, panic mode, "oh crap, I'm about to get caught" kind of sweat. And Harper? She was loving every second of it. Brad, ever the rational businessman, was already pulling out his phone. "I'll call the hotel manager. They should have security footage from last night. If Harper really went near our room, we'll see it." "No!" Meredith blurted out so fast, so loudly, that even Uncle Rick, who was halfway through a mimosa, paused mid-sip. All eyes turned to her. I mean, she stammered, "there's no need to bother the hotel staff. I don't want to make a scene." Harper leaned forward, resting her chin on her hands. "Oh, but Meredith, you were so sure I was guilty. Wouldn't this be the perfect way to prove it?" Brad hesitated, his brows furrowing. Harper saw it again, that flicker of doubt. And now she was about to light that doubt on fire. The footage that changed everything. 20 minutes later, they were all sitting in the hotel manager's office, watching a grainy black and white security video play on the screen. Harper, legs crossed, leaned back in her chair, thriving in the moment. "Meredith?" She looked like she wanted to melt into the floor. "Here we go," the manager muttered, clicking on a timestamp from 11:45 p.m., the time of the alleged crime. The video showed the hallway outside Brad and Meredith's suite. Harper watched closely. There she was, walking past at 10:30 p.m., heading to her own room, not even pausing at their door. Harper smiled. "Well, that's awkward." The family shifted uncomfortably. Then, at 11:45 p.m., the footage showed something very interesting. A figure sneaking toward the suite, but it wasn't Harper. It was Meredith. The room froze. Harper grinned. "Oh, wow. Would you look at that?" The footage showed Meredith fumbling with the safe. She opened it and pulled out the envelopes full of cash. Then, she walked out, money in hand. And the kicker? She wasn't alone. A man, someone none of them recognized, was standing outside the door. Meredith handed him something, whispering before they both disappeared down the hall. Harper let the moment sink in. Then, very slowly, she turned to Meredith. "So, are we going to talk about the fact that you robbed your own safe?" The downfall of Meredith. Meredith's face was white as a sheet. That's not what it looks like." Harper laughed, like, full on, head thrown back. "I'm dying right now," laughed. "Oh, Meredith, this is better than anything I could have imagined. Please explain how you stealing your own money isn't what it looks like. I need to hear this." Meredith flailed. I was just moving the money somewhere safe. Yes, I was worried about the security of the safe, so I moved it. And gave it to some random guy in the hallway? Brad's voice was dangerously low. Meredith froze, because, oh yeah, there was that part. Meredith, Brad said slowly. Who the hell was that guy? The silence that followed, Brad's expression was shifting, his confusion melting into something darker, something that said, oh no, I married an idiot. Harper saw it. Oh, she saw it. And for the first time in her entire life, she felt victorious. The final blow. Harper turned to her parents, who were still sitting there looking like someone had just punched them in the face with reality. Mom, Dad, she said sweetly, I believe you owe me an apology. Her father looked miserable. Harper, No, Harper cut him off, smiling way too brightly. Take your time. I'd love to hear how you plan on explaining why you believe this lunatic over me. Her mother looked like she wanted to die. But Brad wasn't focused on Harper anymore. He was still staring at Meredith. Tell me the truth, he said, voice cold. Who was that guy? Meredith swallowed hard. Harper saw it. She knew what was coming next, and oh, she couldn't wait to see Meredith try to talk her way out of this one. If tension were an Olympic sport, this room would have won gold. Meredith was crumbling. Harper had never seen her sister look so desperately trapped before, and honestly, it was delicious. Brad, still locked onto her like a hawk eyeing a very guilty mouse, spoke again. Who was that guy? Meredith licked her lips. Her brain was working overtime, trying to build some excuse that wouldn't collapse on itself in 3 seconds. Harper leaned in. Yes, Meredith. Tell us about your mysterious midnight business transaction in the hallway. Was it a charity donation? A surprise investment opportunity? Meredith's hands clenched. It's not what it looks like. Brad's jaw tightened. Then what was it? Here it comes. Harper saw the exact second Meredith snapped. Fine, she shrieked, throwing her hands in the air. It was my ex. The entire room exploded in gasps. Aunt Joan, already 3 Bloody Marys deep, muttered, Damn, this brunch is good. Brad? He went completely still. You're what? Meredith scrambled. It's not, I was giving him money as a loan. Brad's voice was pure ice. You stole our honeymoon money and gave it to your ex-boyfriend? Harper whistled. Ooh, Meredith. Even I didn't think you were this dumb. Meredith turned on her like a rabid chihuahua. Shut up, Harper! But it was too late. The damage was done. Brad slowly ran a hand down his face, exhaling through his nose like a man trying very, very hard not to completely lose it. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. A low, humorless, completely done with this BS laugh. Then he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and looked at Meredith like she was a piece of expired milk he just realized had been in his fridge for 6 months. We're done. Meredith's soul left her body. What? No, wait. Brad, I can explain. Brad held up a hand. Nope, I'm good. I don't need the explanation. I don't need the excuses. I don't need a wife who hands out our money to random men in hotel hallways. I need a divorce lawyer. Harper nearly clapped. Meredith lunged for Brad's arm. Baby, no! Brad yanked away, disgusted. Enjoy the money, Meredith, because you're going to need it when I cut you off completely. Then, without another word, he walked out. The fallout, a masterpiece of karma. The second Brad disappeared, Meredith lost it. She turned on Harper, her face twisted in rage. This is your fault. Harper blinked, mock-offended. Me? I wasn't the one sneaking around with an ex while married. That was all you, sweetheart. Meredith looked ready to combust. I hate you. Harper grinned. Yeah. And yet I'm the one walking away from this brunch with my dignity intact. Tough break, kiddo. Her mother, who had aged 20 years in the past hour, buried her face in her hands. Meredith, what have you done? Her father, completely silent, probably regretting every decision that led to this moment. Aunt Joan, on her 4th Bloody Mary, now live texting the family group chat with a full play-by-play. And Harper? She picked up her bag, adjusted her sunglasses, and turned toward the door. Then, just for fun, she looked back at Meredith one last time. "Hope the ex was worth it, sis. Let me know how that goes when he ghosts you in a week." And with that, she walked out, feeling like a damn queen. Epilogue. Karma's a beautiful thing. Brad filed for divorce immediately. The hotel sued Meredith for fraud since she tried to report the money stolen. Her ex-boyfriend disappeared with the cash. Shocker. Their parents finally admitted Harper was right all along. Harper? She took herself on a vacation just to celebrate, and as she sipped a cocktail on a beach far away from the madness, she thought, "Damn, that was fun."